Okay, so there's only one real way I can start this video. I have a little bit of egg on my face. Last week, I put out a video talking about, do we need to fix folk style wrestling? Does there need to be more action? And this past weekend of wrestling, man, it delivered. It was action packed. We had a ton of crazy duels. It was fun to watch. Let's break it down. And I want to jump right into the Penn State versus Ohio State match. I don't know why, but every time I watch RBY, I'm always surprised on how good he is. And the same thing can be said when I watch Spencer Lee. Every time Spencer Lee gets a pin in 60 seconds against the top 10 guy, I'm always surprised. And I don't know why. You think I'd be used to it, but every time I watch RBY and he dominates or controls a really good guy, I'm always surprised. And he did the same thing to Jesse Mendez this weekend. Jesse Mendez had a nice win also during this weekend against Chris Cannon, a previous All-American. So Jesse Mendez is really, really tough, and RBY just controlled this match from beginning to end. And at the beginning of the year, I made the prediction that RBY would widen the gap against Dayton Fix simply because every single year we see RBY get better. As a true freshman, he finished 8th. And then in the COVID year, he had improved, but he still wasn't a favorite to win the title over Seth Gross or Sebastian Rivera. Then he won his 2 national titles. And this year, I think he's going to widen the gap even more, and he looks like he's on track to do just that. And then also in this duel, we had Sammy Sasso versus Shane Van Ness. Shane Van Ness was able to get a takedown, but Sammy Sasso came back, won the match 6-3 over Shane Van Ness. In my opinion, Shane Van Ness right now is on the outside looking in to end up on the podium. He wrestles a lot of tough matches with these top guys, but he hasn't been able to get that marquee victory just yet. And then we had Alex Facundo versus Carson Archla. So we didn't learn too much from this match because Alex Facundo won by a hands to the face point, which whether it was justified or not, it's kind of a disappointing way to win for the wrestlers and for the fans. And it would have been nice to get a real data point around who was going to win based off skill versus a hands to the face point, because 165 pounds is a wild weight class. I mean, Julian Ramirez this weekend also beat Quincy Monday. Now, if you haven't seen that match, I highly recommend you go watch it. That was an action-packed match. Those two wrestlers, they put it out there and wrestled hard for 7 minutes. Julian Ramirez ended up winning 10-6, but there was so much action in that match. But jumping back to the rest of 165, outside of Keegan O'Toole and David Carr, there's probably 10 guys who could place third or could lose in the blood round. It's going to make for a really, really interesting 165-pound bracket come March. All right, so let's jump over to the Iowa versus Minnesota duel. Spencer Lee got his win over Patrick McKee 7-1. Spencer Lee did not bonus him. It was his first win of the season where he did not get bonus points. However, fear not. Spencer Lee, if he goes undefeated and wins his 4th title, he is going to win the Hodge Trophy. The other thing I noticed in the match is while even though Spencer Lee got tired in the 3rd period, he didn't give up any points. And so some people are questioning, can Patrick Glory stay with and compete with Spencer Lee? And the answer is probably not. For the reasons we've seen Spencer Lee get thrown to his back, come back and still win. We've now seen him get tired in the 3rd period. He still wrestles hard in every exchange and doesn't give up points. So even if you get out of the 1st period, you're still going to have a hard path to victory. Even if you make him tired, it's still not going to be anything easy. So there's no clear path to victory against Spencer Lee. He's going to win his 4th title, in my opinion, and wins the Hodge Trophy. So that takes us to 157 pounds where Colby Seabright beats Brayton Lee. Unfortunately, Brayton Lee is not looking like the wrestler he used to be. But if you're an Iowa fan, you got to be super excited about what you're getting from Colby Seabright up to this point. When he started off the year, he looked like he might qualify for the national tournament, and that was really going to be his best case scenario. Man, he's got a real shot to end up on the podium, especially in this 157-pound weight class. And with his big movability and putting guys to their back, I mean, everything's fair game. He's going to be an exciting guy to watch, and a guy that Iowa fans are going to want to keep an eye on at the tournament in March. And the last thing I wanted to touch on in this duel is Jacob Warner at 197 pounds. I don't know what's happened to Jacob Warner, but he went from being a national finalist, and he's at a real risk of not making the podium and potentially losing in the round of 16. I mean, he lost to Michael Foy here. Again, one exchange. He gave up a takedown late. If he doesn't turn something around, I'm not sure how he ends up at the podium in such a deep weight class that is 197. So, and this takes us to Iowa State versus Pittsburgh. Man, if you didn't watch this duel, you missed out. This duel was fantastic. I mean, all 10 bouts were action-packed. There was a lot of great matchups and great wrestling. I thoroughly enjoyed watching these two teams duke it out. So a couple notable results here. Cole Matthews beats Casey Swiderski. Casey Swiderski is struggling right now. He loses this match. He also loses to Jordan Titus. He's got to figure out bottom. He lost this match to Cole Matthews off a ride time point. So he's got to be able to figure out his bottom game. So that takes us to the next match I want to talk about. 197 pounds, Nino Bonacorsi versus Younger Bastida. This match was really, really awesome. Nino Bonacorsi gets really, really deep on Younger Bastida's legs 2 times. And Younger Bastida's bouncing on one foot. I think throughout this 7-minute match, Bastida was bouncing on one foot maybe 3 minutes of the match. And Nino couldn't figure out how to finish the takedown. And when Younger Bastida gets a takedown, I kind of thought the match was over. But Nino Bonacorsi is so relentless. He keeps going. He keeps going after it. He finishes the takedown. He gets 2 back points to win the match. Nino Bonacorsi, he stays undefeated on the year. He beats Younger Bastida. Nino Bonacorsi looking like he might be the #1 seed at the national tournament. Now, he still has to beat Isaac Trumbull a couple times, and he's lost to him before, but Nino Bonacorsi is looking really, really good, and obviously, he's a national finalist previously. He's a threat to win the title this year. All right, and the next duel I want to talk about. So, Iowa State versus Pittsburgh was amazing. Oklahoma State versus Missouri was also amazing. I mean, these are co-matches of the week. This was an awesome match to watch. Won by Oklahoma State by criteria. Dayton Fix notches the major decision and enough points to give Oklahoma State the dual victory. And a couple of notable results here. You had Carter Young get a win over Alan Hart. Carter Young, he wrestled as a true freshman last year and struggled a bit, but he's really starting to turn the corner. He's gotten a couple solid wins over the past few weekends, including this one here over Alan Hart. So he's really starting to show his potential. He was a big recruit coming out of high school, and he's starting to threaten here at 141 pounds. He's starting to look like a podium threat in March. And Alan Hart had a couple tough losses this weekend, this one, and also one to Mosher Schwartz of Oklahoma. And then at 174 pounds, we had Peyton Mako versus Dustin Plott. So my favorite exchange of the duel was when Dustin Plott gets in on this attack here, and he's working for the takedown, and Peyton Mako does a cartwheel out of the takedown for a go behind. That was a crazy exchange. Peyton Mako gets the win here over Dustin Plott. So minor upset here. Peyton Mako's looking to get his first podium finish at the national tournament. And then the last match I want to talk about, of course, is Rocky Elam goes down. The #1 ranked wrestler loses to Luke Serber. And Luke Serber, he looked really, really good. His leg passes in this match were really, really high level. He gets the win here over Rocky Elam. And this is a pretty tough loss for Rocky. He's kind of been injured this year, so he only has 8 matches on the year. And his best win up to this point is against #12, Owen Pence. And so he's going to have very little of margin of error going into the Big 12 tournament. He's going to have to win that to get a decent seed at the national tournament. Right now, he's probably looking at about a 10 seed because he doesn't have any super high level wins. Remember that Jacob Warner win, it doesn't count, and Jacob Warner hasn't really had that good of a season. And so Rocky Elam's going to need to get some quality wins from here to the rest of the year to get a better seed at the national tournament. That's what I got for you. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you like, subscribe, and comment, and let's build a community around the sport that we love. And I'll see you in the next video.